All right, everybody, welcome back to Versus Live. My name's Corey Ballmeister.
And I'm Ross Merriam.
And we got Rob in the booth. Say what's up, Rob.
What's up, Rob?
Rob will be taking all your questions, comments, concerns, and burns. Make sure to tag at Star City Games so he can see the questions, send his favorites over to us. We can do our best to answer. And we know there's a lot of questions because we have all the bands coming from Growth Spiral, Wilderness Reclamation, Cauldron, Familiar, and Teferi Time Reveler to just really shake up Standard, you know?
Really, it's just we get like a new format that we get to play for a couple months, then we get a rotation. So Standard is going to be super interesting basically through the rest of this year, which means it's going to be interesting for 7 years because that's how long the rest of this year is going to last.
Pretty much, yes, exactly.
Yeah,
and honestly, people have like a negative aspect about bans so much that, like, you know, this close to the end of a season, or looks at that broad spectrum. You probably saw the meme going around of like cards banned during this year, cards banned during this year, and it's just a ton, right? But I think bans are looked at in a little bit too negative of a light. Now, that's not to say that bans aren't bad. You know, bans are bad because especially people's investment into the game. You buy a deck, it gets banned, that feels bad. But bans in this kind of situation where we know it's going to be stale for 3 months, and then these are cards that are already going to be gone anyways, I think this should be looked at in a good light because it's just letting us have some new fun in a new world before we really step into a new world with rotation coming around, you know?
The problem isn't the bans per se. Like each individual ban decision has been mostly warranted. You know, there's a few that you can quibble with over the last 3 years, I think. But, you know, they've mostly been good for the health of the format. The problem just comes from the volume of bans that we've had in 3 years. Yeah. It's just so many. Everybody's got ban fatigue. And we're just kind of a little bit tired of, like, seeing these cards come out set after set. We're just like, this one's too good, this one's too good. And hopefully, you know, WotC reins that in a little bit, and we start to see in the coming sets, you know, even if it comes at the expense of the power level overall, I think people will be happier to see, you know, a less powerful format if they don't have to worry about decks being banned and they just get to play normally.
Agreed. Totally agree. And honestly, the last set we had, what was that, M21, right? Yeah, M21 was like perfectly fair. I think this is probably the closest to a busted mythic that might need banning. But I say that as that being the most powerful card. There's no way it needs a ban. Yeah. You know, but that's like the range that we should have. You know, like
cards like Jewel Rail and Scavenging Ooze,
fun cards.
Right in that good power level. You know, there's some good removal. You know, Eliminate is a nice one, but nothing, you know, on the level of Uro or Oko or anything like that.
Exactly.
There weren't any busted Simic cards. We figured it out. Just don't print Simic cards anymore.
Exactly. Don't have green cards that have card advantage. I think that's a pretty safe bet. That's pretty scary. So,
or at least balance it out. You know, there's been a lot of this talk about, and I know, you know, your brother has been was one of the first people to really harp on this 3 years ago during the Tireless Tracker era, because that was like, you know, we went from Corsair Crewfix to Tireless Tracker, and then sort of went to Jadelight Ranger. There was some space in between before Jadelight Ranger really started taking over. But these green card advantage cards, and it's really that they're cards that generate card advantage while also developing a battlefield. And it's when you get to do both of those at the same time that decks get really hard to deal with, because your opponent is distracted trying to answer you on the battlefield, and then you get to just spend that time generating card advantage, and eventually they run out of stuff to do, and you're still flush with cards, flush with resources. And so we really just need to find other ways to get built-in card advantage that also affects the battlefield into other colors. And something like Elspeth Conquers Death is a great way to do that. As annoying as I find that card, because I often am on the receiving end of it.
You don't play a lot of Elspeth Conquers Death.
Exactly. I think that card was excellent for white in general, and a really good way of getting white some card advantage. Because you really need to be able to put that into put card advantage into every single color, and put card advantage that is somewhat, you know, tempo positive or at least tempo neutral into some of these colors to help them out, because blue is always going to get the most robust card advantage, but it's going to be in just straight card draw spells most of the time, so it's going to lose you tempo, and that's a good you know, trade-off to have. It's like I get more card advantage but less tempo. The other decks get a little bit less card advantage but still keep it with tempo. But green has kind of been so far ahead of the other colors on that aspect that it's put it, you know, above as the best color in Standard for, you know, most of the last 3 years. And we just need to see that wealth spread out to some of the other colors.
And I mean, to be fair, that's gonna happen in Standard, unfortunately. I think, like, almost inherently, because card advantage is already king in Standard, where it's not necessarily that true in Modern. you know, card advantage is good, but you can have just very linear busted creature or aggro decks or combo decks that don't really have card advantage. They just do their thing, you know, but that's a bigger card pool
on another axis.
Yeah. So standard is always kind of going to be dominated that, but it's always been green lately. You know, it could be dominated by card advantage in a different color. Mix it up, you know?
Yeah, Dreamcrawler is a fine way to do it again in Azorius. I mean, we just, you know, Red's gotten a little bit of card advantage with, you know, first it was like Chandra, and then Light Up. Now, more recently, we've seen Light Up the Stage, Experimental Frenzy. So we've seen it touch it in other colors too, and those cards have been good. Yeah. So it just needs to be more balanced.
Yeah, they need to massage the numbers a little bit.
Yeah. Massage the numbers.
You need to go work for Wizards. Just tell them, hey, I think we should massage the numbers on Oko a little bit, and then boom, it's fair.
Yeah. When you're done massaging the numbers, can I get a back massage too?
Yeah. Spoiler: Old Man Ross hurt himself playing basketball last night. So
I am. If you've noticed, I'm staying a lot more still than I normally would.
I'll make sure to try to tilt you in a top deck or something, so you'll be like, oh.
No sudden movements today.
All right. So we're going to start our match here. Rob, do you got one question for us before we get started for this game one?
I do. Bob the Destroyer wanted to know, do you think that Esper Hero could be a mid-range deck with your return to the format?
Is that actually Brian Braun doing that asked that question? Is that his ghost account? Maybe. I don't know. I think the days of Hero of Precinct 1 are personally gone. I just don't think the games play out like that, especially if Shock's coming back. I could see Esper Control just still being good, but I don't know about Esper Hero anymore personally, but you never know.
Esper Hero was sort of around in large part because it was just the best thought erasure deck.
Yeah.
And I think they're just better shells for that. Esper Hero is also going to be a deck that misses Teferi, Time Raveler a lot.
Huge,
That curve of just Hero, Teferi, bounce your thing, I'm ahead, and I've generated some material advantage as well.
Yeah.
It's a really strong curve for them. And they were just, you know, it's not just a strong card and a strong card for the deck, but it's a particularly a bad loss for that deck because you're narrowing your pool of cards because of the need to have so many multicolored cards for Hero. So your replacement for it is going to be much worse than some other deck's replacement that, you know, is going to get a more powerful card. You know, in a more aggressive deck, you can play something like Baron. In a more controlling deck, you can play something like Narset. Those cards are going to be significantly worse when you need that multicolored density.
Yeah, totally agree. I just think forcing yourself into playing multicolored is kind of a trap right now because, like, you know, you want to play like Extinction Event, you want to play Eliminate, maybe Heartless Act if they're good cards in the metagame, but you're really forced into a certain way with Hero of Precinct 1, even though it's, you know, a fun card and everybody remembers the good times. But all right, good questions, keep them coming in.
Those in the old memory banks.
I will start.
That hardly seems fair. You have to start the last time. Why don't we just keep doing that?
Yeah, because you won a round one for a change.
It went so well.
I think this has got to be a mulligan. We do have a decent curve, counting this at the top end, and I mean, it's not terrible. Yeah, I think it's just a little too weak. I think this deck has to mulligan a little aggressively. Yeah, we would have top decked the best possible. Sweet.
And I have a reasonable hand here.
Okay.
So I'm going to keep it.
Alrighty.
You got another question, Rob? While Corey is shuffling up?
I do. Reese Shinsley 93 wants to know, what about Simic Flash? Is losing Growth Spiral too big of a hit?
That one I think is coming back.
So we're both kind of high on that deck. We're not featuring it today because we agreed that Simic Flash really needs a metagame to target in order to find the right build. So that's something we can definitely look at if, you know, Standard remains popular. I think that's something we can build once we start to see which decks are rising to the top a little bit more.
Yeah.
I do think that the lack of Growth Spiral hurts you in terms of trying to play that sort of hybrid ramp Flash deck that was a Brad and Seth played at a Mythic Championship.
Yep.
Yeah, last November. And that style of deck really wanted Spiral because, you know, you could hold up the counterspell and still ramp. I think you have to be more of a traditional Flash deck, more blue heavy, maybe go back to Brineborn Cutthroat. You know, maybe go more flyers and try to play Lofty Denial. Something in that realm.
Yeah, I think you go that or you go Paradise Druid 4-drop plan. You know, I think that's reasonable as well. And I think they even did like a split in their Mythic Championship deck. They might have not played all Growth Spirals, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, maybe you can get by just playing Paradise Druid and Wolf Willow Haven. and go that route. But regardless, that's a deck we're keeping our eye on. We just need to have more of a target to really get a good build going.
Yeah, flash decks need to have a specific metagame. I agree with you. Okay, I'm going to keep this. I put an extra land to the bottom. It's not great, but it's okay.
It's a good land, Corey.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take 2 and play a good boy here, a Selfless Savior. I'll go to 18. Your turn.
Okay. I have a Temple of Abandon.
Okay.
And don't need another land, so I'll send that to the bottom.
All right. I will untap. I'm going to play a Lazotep Reaver. Get the Cedric Amass token out, and then I'll attack for 1.
19.
Your go. Yes.
I will pass the turn.
What do you have? I'm going to take 2.
60.
Is there a certain flash threat that I'm missing here? I guess you could have Stomp. That's probably the most likely. Could have like Wild-Born Preserver, but I kind of doubt that, so I'm going to jam.
I'll take 3.
Okay.
16 all.
And then I'll pass to you.
On your end step, I will stomp the Lazotep Reaver.
Okay, I don't think it's worth saving with the Savior, so that's fine.
Yeah. Would like to get the Savior off the battlefield, but if I do that, I lose out on the Giant.
Yep. The body's pretty good, I agree.
I will play... Oh, let's do it this way. A Rada Heart of Keld.
Okay.
Pass the turn.
All right. End step, I'm going to raise the alarm.
That's not good.
Put some white soldiers into play. I will untap. Boo.
Is this a boo I didn't draw Winota or boo I didn't draw land 5?
Boo I didn't draw Winota. So I'll cycle. And I'll play a Fabled Passage, and I don't want to attack into that, so we're just in the Winota waiting room.
Okay, well, I've drawn all lands this game, and as soon as I have Rada, I look at a spell.
Yep, of course.
It's not the best, so that's fine. We got a spell for next turn.
Okay.
For now, I just want to get as many creatures on the battlefield as I can, so if you do draw Winota, I'll at least get to take out some other threats.
Yep.
Maybe I can turn the corner as well.
Okay.
I've got a Scavenging Ooze and a Zertog Goblin, and I'm going to make the Zertog Goblin a 3/3.
Okay.
So the Rada... I think I'm pretty happy to trade resources, even if Rada hasn't gotten any value. It does have first strike, so it's very difficult for you to block.
Yeah.
So let's get in there.
I will be taking it.
Brings you to 13.
13, yep.
Pass the turn.
All right, come on. I feel like this deck's major plan is like, oh, top deck Winota, or don't, and you lose. And I didn't, so I'm probably going to lose. All right, I'm going to play Fabled Passage and pass to you.
Could be another Raise the Alarm here. Okay, so there's a land. I guess I'll play it tapped.
Okay.
Then I will play a Questing Beast.
Okay, now that's some real pressure.
And make those 2 attacks again.
Okay, at this point, I think I should be trying to minimize damage a little bit, just because I'm going to have enough creature where Winota is going to be insane regardless. So I think a chump block is decent here. Otherwise, if I don't chump, I go to 6. And then just an all-out attack is pretty bad. Embercleave is going to kill me anyways, so yeah, I'll chump with 1.
So you go to 9?
Yep.
I'll pass the turn.
All right, I got another Raise the Alarm.
Yeah, probably want to pop that passage too.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of the turn when we got to have it. I mean, there's some other stuff that would be decent, but like we're kind of past the time of Loxodon. Yeah, just not great. This deck is insanely powerful, but insanely high variance when you don't draw one of your 8 over-the-top effects. And that is Loxodon and Winota.
Right. I shouldn't have reached for your deck.
Oh, wow. You gonna make it, buddy? There's that basketball kicking in, y'all. We're all old men trying to play sports, so... I did not get it. Good cut.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, the cut was worth it at least, so
No,
I'll pass to you.
Need some Tiger Bomb over there, something.
Yeah. I guess I found my out to win this game. Ross can't continue to play.
Yeah. Okay.
To start issuing a versus live injury report every day. 10-day DL, day to day.
Yeah, we got a sub in for Ross Merriam here. He tore his ACL shuffling up that Gruul deck yesterday. Gonna be tough for him to continue to play at his level.
You can't leave him though. We have one that.
It's a pretty cool draw.
Oh yeah, we're in trouble.
It's gonna be a cool draw next turn. Oh, what am I thinking?
I'm just wildly dead.
You're not dead. I'm just trying to figure out if I can make some more aggressive attacks and force blocks out of you to reduce the effectiveness of a top deck Winota.
Seems smart.
But I also don't want to just die to you hitting some good creatures.
Yeah.
So this is going to get through and be a blocker. That'll put you to 5.
Yep.
So if I attack with everything here, you're going to have to block 2 of them. You can, however, block with Self a Savior and something else, protect the other thing with the Savior.
Only lose one.
You only lose 1 creature. Then you'll have 4 attackers. I will have 2 blockers because I have something to play post-combat, and I will be at 17. Your 4 attackers, could get 4 more creatures. That seems unlikely. If they only get 2 creatures, which seems pretty likely, I'll have 2 blockers, and that'll be fine. So I kind of... Alternatively, if I just attack here, you're definitely still dead next turn, and I just have 5 blockers. I just don't see myself losing. So that's probably better. Yeah, get in for 4.
Okay.
You go to 5.
Yep.
And then I will play a Terror of the Peaks.
All right. Definitely dead next turn. All right. And I guess that is a redraw. Cycle, since I have so many lands and too many.
Many lands.
Yeah, that'll happen. That's the one problem with this deck, and even how we actually saw MJ get eliminated. He just flooded out up against Team Rec deck it was mono black against mono black, where he just drew 9 lands, and there's no real way to insulate it from it. Where if any of those draws in the early game were Winota, he would have took it down, and that's just kind of the deck's MO. So. Yeah.
Well, draw better.
Yeah, draw better. Okay, but before we can draw better, we have to sideboard better. So we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back here with sideboarding here on Versus Live. All right, everybody, welcome back to sideboarding here with Mardu Winota up against Gruul Beatdown. For my end, pretty easy sideboarding. I have a lot of Michael Jacobs' sideboard had just a lot of different stuff. Oh yeah, I forgot I'm a Giganta deck. Oh yeah. That probably wouldn't have helped. But you just want to bring in a lot of targeted things, but you can't over sideboard with this deck. That's the main thing. So around 4 cards is like the max you can be doing, because you got to keep the core of your deck pretty clean. But all these are pretty strong removal spells. Eliminates the only questionable one that I'm kind of considering. And yeah, being on the play, I'm actually going to take that out and leave it an Enforcer here. On the draw, I'm going to bring it in just because I'm going to need more removal on the draw. So
okay. Yeah. On my side, I've got the 4th Terror of the Peaks and a little extra removal in Primal Might. Definitely noticed a weakness in how I built it, where all my removal is sorcery speed. That's a problem. There should probably be a couple red cap melees here to help against both Mono Red and Winota.
Yep.
But I do think Primal Might is quite good in a deck like this. We've seen it be quite good in Mono Green as well. Anything where you have Questing Beast and just being able to have a nice 1-mana removal spell that still scales well into the late game. Definitely a card you want access to, but just massage the numbers.
Massage the numbers, exactly.
Yeah.
And someone needs to massage your back, apparently, too. Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Ram Through is also a possibility for the deck. That could be a decent... That's like a decent main deck one that's kind of universal.
Yeah.
But, if you play against a control deck, it's obviously not going to be great, too. So maybe we just got to see how the metagame develops a little bit more.
Just cutting my weakest creature here in Zertok Goblin. I'm actually playing it over Robber of the Rich, which has been the staple in Gruul here.
Yep.
I think the way that Gruul had to be built before had to be way more aggressive. So you saw a lot of haste creatures just trying to get the game over with. I think now creature sizing is going to be more important. So the option to be a 3/3 here is better for Zertok Goblin. It'll be fine here, but it's still one of the weakest creatures in the deck, if not the weakest. And then the one Domri here, which is a nice card to have access to in some games. It can ramp you to Terror of the Peaks. but against an aggressive deck that can attack it so easily, not effective.
Especially on the draw. That's another card that I love on the play in aggressive matchups still, and hate on the draw. Like that's a very clear-cut way for that. And sometimes it's not even good on the play, depending on how fast the deck. But if it was like a Gruul mid-range mirror, still probably bad on the draw, but great on the play.
Yeah,
so there's examples like that. But.
Yeah, if you're both approximately the same speed, then good on the play. If they're faster than you, then still not good on the play.
Exactly, because if you ever have that be a fight spell on the play, and then you get to keep it alive, and now you have an extra mana, plus you have an Anthem, at least in the attack power, that's pretty powerful. So, all right, Rob, you got a question for us while we shuffle up for this next game?
I do. What do you think about the cycling decks in the format?
Ooh. Didn't really think about those. I think it could be good. It could be good. They were never like super bad. They just probably were not good against Team Iraq. I would imagine.
People sort of learned their tricks.
Yeah.
The issue here is going to be people are going to have more just main deck cheap removal for your Flourishing Foxes and
that's a good point.
Valiant Rescuers. So if those don't live, your deck doesn't do a whole lot.
Yeah.
You're just kind of relying on doming them maybe twice for a whole bunch of damage. So that's a problem. I think one of its strengths was people were unprepared for it early on, and it got worse just with having people be prepared in the sideboard games.
Yeah.
And if anybody's prepared in the main deck and has you, well prepared for all three, that deck just doesn't pivot well.
That's true. And it's the same. That deck can never really adjust and do anything different. It has to do its game plan. And we have Scavenging Ooze to now mess with that deck. So, it's probably a rough one.
I'm low.
Yeah, I'm usually pretty unhappy with these very, very linear decks because they're usually pretty easy. Mono Green is a deck that I actually played recently, but that deck had some game to it. So
that Mono Green has a lot of mana sinks. Individually powerful cards.
Yep. Exactly.
Can be a little bit more defensive against other creature decks.
Agreed. I just don't like the one-dimensional aspect of it. So this sounds fine. I'm gonna keep.
My hand is not fine.
All right. Not fine has been declared.
Indeed.
We'll take one more question from you there, Rob, if you got one.
Deepster122 wants to know, what do you think of Klothys in the Gruul deck, either in the main deck or in sideboard?
Klothys seems like an okay card. I'm not sure how quickly you're going to get to 7 Devotion. I saw it in some lists, usually in the sideboard as like a 1 of.
Yeah.
But once you have Scavenging Ooze as an incidental graveyard hate, that ability on Klothys gets a lot less valuable.
True.
But it's still a pretty reasonable card. I know we've played
against
before.
Euro and stuff too,
Yeah, so that's definitely a card to consider. One that I didn't think was good enough, but I'm not super confident in that opinion.
Yeah, but honestly, up against, I picture it like up against a Sultai deck, and you play a creature, and I'm like, okay, eliminate it, and you drop Klothys, and I think my eyes just widen. I'm like, oh.
Yeah,
I can't kill that. So I could see it actually being decent in certain matchups. And, once again, everything about the metagame has been flipped upside down. So there's so many questions that we can give our general opinion about, but until a metagame is actually shifted, it doesn't matter. We can give you scenarios of if this happens, we think this is going to be good, but that's about the best we can do at this point, And
the one thing we can confidently say about Klothys is that it is a card that comes with very high diminishing returns, so it's not a card you want to play in high numbers.
Yeah, probably 2 max. If it's really, really good, you want 2 in the main. A third in the board is like the max you could ever get, and even that's probably pushing it. But
yeah, agreed. Yeah. So, but definitely a card that you should be considering.
All right. Ross mulliganing, my hand's playable, I'm in.
And this hand's good if we hit, so I think I've got to keep it and pretty clearly putting that one back.
All right. Triome, your go.
That was the worst draw possible.
Excellent.
Stomping Ground go.
I will take 2 and say go.
At 18. Oh, we hit our land. Paradise Druid go.
All right, you're alive. I will raise the alarm. Got some soldiers. All right, I'm going to untap. I'm going to take 2.
16.
I'm going to raise the alarm and then put an absurd amount of power into the play. How's that? Not bad? Your go. Oh, I love Loxodon. Just my favorite card. Not bad, huh, Rob?
Pretty decent.
Pretty decent. Decent has been declared. All right.
Rada will check one of the tokens.
Okay.
Hopefully help me hit a land drop. That's ideal.
Not bad, not bad.
And I think we will want that other land as well.
All right.
That's the turn.
So I will untap these.
I hit the things I needed, but
I will take 2 and play Winota.
Run over anyway. They're at 14.
I'll attack. 5 triggers. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6. Let's go with Judith. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's go with Bossery's Lieutenant.
Where are you putting the counter?
We'll put a counter here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Miss. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Judith. So we'll get some triggers. Those are legend rule.
So 2 damage divided as you choose.
Yeah. 2 to you. And the last one. 1, 2, 3,
18.
4, 5, 6. And to get one of these coming in. All right, that's it. Not a bad attack. Not a bad turn 4.
So I block here, obviously. And
Yeah.
This is 4, 6, 9, and these are all 3s plus 1. So 10 plus 12 is 22.
All right.
It's pretty good.
There's a clippable moment. I like that one. Mardu Winota is absurd sometimes. Absolutely absurd.
I do love me some Venerated Loxodon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, the only thing that could be better is if I had a Selfless Saver in there to protect. Like,
Yeah.
that's the only way that draw could be any better. But, yeah, I love Loxodon. I think that's my favorite aggressive card in the last, 2 years or
Same.
whatever.
And there you see kind of the feast or famine aspect of this deck.
Yeah.
Game 1, you basically did nothing. You had some
Yep.
early cheap creatures. I quickly made a 3/3, and that dominated the game.
Exactly, yeah.
Then in game 2, you dealt me 24 damage on turn 4.
Yep. Yep, exactly. And had, a little bit more power than
Yeah.
that. A Winota in the rings,
Yeah,
too,
30 power on the battlefield.
Exactly. And I mean, that's Winota. Just with an ability like that, it's high variance. And when you have to draw that card to make your other creatures better, there's going to be some matchups where your little bad creatures like Lazatep Reaver and Raise the Alarm are just going to be good and get good chip shot damage in. But against aggro, you have to have that thing that goes over the top,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, anything that's playing blockers, like you got to have something to get those 1/1s and 1/2s, turning into something better.
Exactly. And that time they turned into things that were much better. Holy cow, that was a nice draw. I haven't actually played with this deck too much since the Players Tour finals, but I've been playing against it plenty of times. And I mean, this is the deck why I put 4 Soul Seers in the board, because if you can deal with the Winota, we saw what my deck was game 1. And I think people that want to be prepared for this deck can be.
That said, you didn't really need the Winota in that game.
Not really.
Double Raise the Alarm Venerated Loxodon is a pretty strong start.
Exactly, yep.
And I have a nice curve in this hand, so I will keep.
My hand's okay, but it definitely is not as good as the last one, but I'll keep as well.
Stomping ground.
All right. I will play Triumph and pass to you.
I've got a Forest and a Scavenging Ooze.
Okay.
You're up.
That's not good. Okay, I will play this, Selfless Savior, and pass to you.
I am going to I will attack for 2.
No blocks.
You go to 18.
Yep.
I will play Rada.
Okay.
You can get it.
All right. I will sack this. What kind of land do I want? I don't think it matters too much. I guess red or white guarantees I can cast Winota. Yeah, okay. I'm just going to plains then. All right. Rada, huh? That's going to be a problem.
Rada's a nice one for these Gruul decks. Again, you can do a lot to fix your color issues by just hitting land drops.
Yep. No, totally agree. So I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to gain a life.
You go to 19?
I'll attack, and then play a Temple. And I'm thinking I don't want this. Maybe that's bad. So you don't want to flood, so you don't want too many lands. But I think I want that one. All right.
Okay. Get in for 2.
Okay. I'll go to 17. Yep.
And I'm just going to deal with this Selfless Savior.
Okay.
Primal Might for 0. Pass the turn. So now Winota is not very good.
Winota is not very good. You are correct. So now it seems like a very obvious stomp. Otherwise, you would want to eat things to get in more damage. So at all costs, I'm going to try to play around that if I can. Now, most of my deck is X2, so it's easier said than done, but I'm going to take 2 there and play a Boss Rees Lieutenant and put a counter here. Sure, go.
15. You get to do it on anything?
Yep. Okay. On target creature you control, yep.
I thought that was other for some reason.
Yeah.
But let's take the 2 creatures that are graveyards.
Okay, you go to 22.
21. I took 1 from a Selfless Savior attack.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
Some very awkward draw. That's what we got to do. So I will Domri's Ambush the Boss Rees Lieutenant with
the creature fight.
It's pro multicolor.
Does that target?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Can't do that.
Yep, can't do that.
Well, that's really awkward.
Yeah, Boss Rees Lieutenant is quite annoying.
Regretting the way I played this game.
That Primal Might's looking good, huh?
Okay, I guess I have to play Questing Beast and attack for 4.
And attack. So I could trade. I get a 2/2. I mean, that's pretty solid. But I think with my hand, I would rather just take it. So I'll go to 11.
Pass the turn.
Okay, that was a pretty good draw. But I think my play is quite scripted. So we're going to go with... D-Spark. And then I'll attack for 4.
I go to 17.
Yep. And then a Lazatep Reaver with an Amass token, and then you go. All right, this game's feeling a little bit more manageable. But...
Pass the turn.
Okay, I like that. Well, this seems like the obvious play, but maybe that doesn't mean it's the best. But it does seem quite strong. Because... what Ross is probably lining up right now is like stomp the Lazatep Reaver, put a counter on Scavenging Goose, block Boss Rees Lieutenant. And that is, of course, backbreaking for me. And Ross knows something about backbreaking, so I should have him not do that. So I'm going to start by chopping this down.
Yeah, that's pretty good, because that's what I had. Still going to do that just to gain my life and get my stomp used. So I'm going to go to 18.
18, yep. And then that's going to be... chomped. I'm going to play Giant Killer and then attack for 5.
I go to 13.
Here you go.
Questing Beast, get in for 4.
This one I'll block. Now, because I don't have another answer. So now I get a 2/2.
Pass the turn.
Should be a great turn for a Winota. Huh. Nope. Still got some pretty solid plays here. I think this is just a time to just get them in there. I'm going to play Tajik. I'm going to take 2, go to 9. I'm going to attack with everything and mentor 6, 7, 8. So it's going to be 8. Do I want to mentor onto this? Yeah, I'll mentor onto the knight. So take 8.
5.
All right, here you go. How's that Terror of the Peaks in your hand?
Okay, that's what we needed to draw.
Uh-oh.
This prevents non-combat damage to your other creatures.
Yep.
Now at 5, so I do barely live. So I guess that is the line.
Okay.
And I guess it's best to... two in hand.
Mm-hmm.
I'll play Bone Crusher Giant.
Okay.
Can't beat a removal spell regardless.
Yeah, you can't beat the Sitter.
Yeah, that'll get me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna ambush this, hope to live for a turn, and then have Embercleave on it for 12.
Yeah.
Which would beat the 3/3 blocker.
Yeah.
But I kind of need you have nothing.
And I can tap you down too.
Well, I thought you might tap and then attack.
Oh,
you don't have to do that because this is a 3.
Yeah.
But if I make it a 4, then that's the point of using the ambush. Yeah.
Yep.
So I make this a 4. Now I have your board checked. You're incentivized to tap down on your turn, get the damage in,
Yep.
and maybe have a blocker back, and then my Embercleave might be able to finish you off in one turn.
Yeah, I think the spot where you lost the game is primal mighting the pup instead of ambushing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Just because of the pro multicolor, that was
that was big, and also I just got stuck on 1 red mana.
Yeah,
I drew a bunch of red cards.
That's going to be a problem as well too. Yeah.
But it ended up doubly compounding. So it was just that use of the removal spell combined with a slightly awkward part of my draw. But if I'm able to primal might that Bastard's Lieutenant earlier in the game, I'm in much better shape. Now my questing beasts are huge. And
you would have got to attack for 6 that turn. So
honestly, I'd probably win the game with just the Embercleave and questing beasts as soon as I draw this mountain.
Agreed. But yeah, I mean, we saw Winota just play the fair game with some removal spells. I mean, I drew like all of my removal spells, I mean, I literally drew them all. Yeah, these were the 3 I brought in. Excuse me. So that was, pretty interesting there, of course. But the fair game looked fine. Bossery's Lieutenant especially, I think. That is a card we were hyping before. And I think it's only getting better with the bans, like a lot better,
Yeah, I definitely agree there. Bossery's Lieutenant looked quite good.
Yeah, and it makes me want to try the green-white tokens again with Bossery Lieutenant and stuff, because I think that card is one that we were kind of leaving off, but I actually think this card's insane.
Yeah, and that green-white deck can go really big, has really powerful synergies about it. And we've played some Conclave Mentor decks. I know when we did our no ban list standard day, I won with a Mentor deck.
Yeah, you beat the deck. Now I would like to see you beat that in a 10-match set, But yeah, you beat my Jeskai Luca Oko Fires, the most absurd deck I've ever seen. But
that could definitely be something that you look into and start playing. But we saw the power of Venerate Loxodon and Bastard's Lieutenant there. And then just, you've been hyping up black removal spells, and your black and white removal matched up really well against my creatures. Noxious Grasp, D-Spark, and Chop Down. All this really efficient, whereas my removal was really awkward.
Yeah.
I had these, Stomps and Domri's Ambush, and they just didn't line up well against your threats, and that was the biggest thing. Yeah. Now, obviously, if I play differently, my removal lines up a lot better, so, part of that is on me, but, the black removal definitely is just more efficient overall.
Yeah.
That's the strength of those colors. So we didn't really get to see the things that I was excited about out of Gruul. The one Terror of the Peaks in game 1 after the game was essentially decided, bar you ripping Winota. And Terror wasn't going to do anything about that. So we didn't really get to see a lot of what the Gruul deck, I think, can offer, but you still did see that downside is there. It has awkward mana. Its removal isn't great. but the cards are powerful when your draws do come together.
Yep, agreed. And, I mean, we have time for a pity game if you want to play it, but we also have a very big, kind of a dragged-on match coming up.
We want to leave some time for that match.
That's
going
probably
to be a really nice one.
It will be.
We're going to take a short break here, 5 minutes, and we will be back for round 3, where I'm going to be playing Temur Adventures, a deck we've hyped up already today, and Corey is going to be playing Orzhov Yorion, a deck that was kind of a flash in the pan for that 1 week, in part because it had a bad Temur Reclamation matchup, but it's quite good against the rest of the field, so that's definitely a deck that you're going to want to look into, and we're going to want to look into and see how it does.
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested for that match. Like, that's a very important match to decide if I would want to play Orzhov Yorion, because that's a deck I'm considering even for this weekend. I think it's so powerful. Yeah. The synergies are so great. But, that if it's a good matchup against the Wreck, I think it's decent. It should have a good matchup against Mono Red already, just because it plays Oath of Kaya, Kaya's Wrath, stuff like that. I'm curious how it does against Winota and Green, though, because Green, I think, has already been a bad matchup for it. So I just don't know, but that is one I'm considering. So, let's give it a shot.
I would say it's going to be good against aggressive decks, and this is definitely a good test for it. Both of these decks, super grindy. We're going to play some long games. We're both going to get to generally do our thing and draw a bunch of cards, and we're going to see who comes out on top in that match. And that's going to decide who gets the marbles, too. So you're not going to want to miss that. Once again, we're going to take a 5-minute break, and we'll be right back with our final match today on Versus Live.